Journey through the Cosmos, a bedtime story of space exploration. Close your eyes and imagine the vastness of space. Tonight, we'll travel through time and across the cosmos, discovering the remarkable achievements of humanity's journey beyond Earth. Let these facts guide you into peaceful dreams of distant stars and infinite possibilities. Chapter 1. The Dawn of the Space Age, the first steps beyond Earth. Our journey begins in 1957, when humanity first reached beyond our atmosphere. Sputnik 1, the first artificial satellite, was a polished metal sphere just 23 inches in diameter, weighing 184 pounds. It orbited Earth every 96 minutes, beeping radio signals that changed history forever. Only 1 month later, Sputnik 2 carried the first living creature into orbit, Laika, a stray dog from Moscow. Though her journey was one way, she proved that living beings could survive the launch and weightlessness of space. Her sacrifice paved the way for human spaceflight. The space race intensified when the United States launched Explorer 1 in 1958. This satellite discovered the Van Allen radiation belts surrounding Earth, zones of charged particles trapped by our planet's magnetic field. This was the first major scientific discovery of the space age. NASA was born on July 29, 1958, transforming from the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics. It began with 8,000 employees and an annual budget of $100 million. Today, it employs over 18,000 people and operates with a budget exceeding $25 billion. Humanity touches the stars. On April 12, 1961, Yuri Gagarin became the first human in space, orbiting Earth once in his Vostok 1 capsule. His historic flight lasted just 108 minutes, yet proved humans could survive and function in space. Upon seeing Earth from orbit, he famously said it looked like a beautiful blue ball. Valentina Tereshkova became the first woman in space on June 16, 1963, piloting Vostok 6. She orbited Earth 48 times over nearly 3 days. Remarkably, she had no prior pilot training before being selected from over 400 applicants, working as a textile factory worker and amateur skydiver. Alan Shepard became the first American in space on May 5, 1961, just 23 days after Gagarin. His Freedom 7 flight was suborbital, lasting only 15 minutes and 22 seconds. During the countdown delays, he became the first person to urinate in a spacesuit, an unplanned necessity that led to improved suit designs. John Glenn orbited Earth 3 times on February 20, 1962, becoming the first American to do so. His Friendship 7 capsule experienced a potential heat shield problem, creating tense moments during re-entry. He would return to space 36 years later at age 77, becoming the oldest person to fly in space. President John F. Kennedy challenged America to land on the moon by decade's end in his famous 1961 speech. This ambitious goal mobilized 400,000 people across thousands of companies. At its peak, the Apollo program consumed 4% of the entire federal budget. The Saturn V rocket remains the most powerful rocket ever successfully operated. Standing 363 feet tall and weighing 6.5 million pounds fully fueled, it generated 7.6 million pounds of thrust at liftoff. The sound was so loud it melted concrete at the launch pad and could be felt 100 miles away. Apollo 8 became the first crewed mission to orbit the moon in December 1968. The 3 astronauts were the first humans to see the far side of the moon with their own eyes. On Christmas Eve, they broadcast a reading from Genesis while showing views of Earth and the moon to millions watching on television. Apollo 10 performed a full dress rehearsal in May 1969, descending to within 9 miles of the lunar surface before returning. The lunar module's call sign was Snoopy, and Charlie Brown was the command module. At one point, during lunar module staging, Commander Tom Stafford and pilot Gene Cernan broke the speed record for human flight, reaching 24,791 miles per hour. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin landed on the moon on July 20th, 1969, while Michael Collins orbited above. Armstrong's first step occurred at 10:56 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. More than 600 million people worldwide watched the live television broadcast, making it one of the most watched events in history. Armstrong's famous words were slightly garbled. He intended to say one small step for a man, but it was lost in transmission. The entire moonwalk lasted just 2 hours and 31 minutes. They collected 47.5 pounds of lunar material in their short time outside. The lunar module's descent engine had only 25 seconds of fuel remaining when Armstrong finally landed. He had to fly manually past the planned landing site because it was too rocky. Mission Control's heart rate soared during those final tense moments. Buzz Aldrin took communion on the lunar surface shortly after landing, but before the moonwalk. He had brought a small communion kit in his personal preference kit. Due to a lawsuit about Apollo 8's Genesis reading, NASA kept this quiet at the time. The American flag planted on the moon was knocked over by the lunar module's engine exhaust during liftoff. All subsequent Apollo missions planted flags farther from the module. The flags have been bleached pure white by decades of unfiltered solar radiation. Apollo 11's computer had less processing power than a modern smartphone. The Apollo guidance computer operated at 0.043 MHz with 64 kilobytes of memory. It could perform about 85,000 instructions per second, compared to billions for today's phones. Apollo 12 was struck by lightning twice during launch in November 1969, temporarily knocking out systems. Quick thinking by flight controllers and astronauts saved the mission. They landed just 600 feet from the Surveyor 3 probe, which had been on the moon since 1967. Apollo 13's oxygen tank explosion occurred 200,000 miles from Earth. The crew survived in the lunar module for 4 days, designed to support 2 people for 2 days. They endured temperatures near freezing and had to build a makeshift carbon dioxide scrubber using materials at hand. Apollo 14 carried Alan Shepard, who hit 2 golf balls on the lunar surface. The low gravity and lack of air resistance allowed them to travel incredible distances. He described the second shot as going miles and miles and miles. Apollo 15 brought the first lunar roving vehicle, allowing astronauts to travel up to 6 miles from their landing site. The rover's top speed was 11 miles per hour. It remains on the moon today, along with 2 others from Apollo 16 and 17. Apollo 16 was the only mission to land in the lunar highlands. Commander John Young drove the lunar rover so enthusiastically he set the unofficial lunar land speed record of 11.2 miles per hour. They collected 209 pounds of lunar samples. Apollo 17 in December 1972 was the last crewed moon mission. Geologist Harrison Schmitt was the only scientist to walk on the moon. They spent over 22 hours outside the lunar module across 3 moonwalks, the longest of any mission. 12 men walked on the moon between 1969 and 1972. The average age was 39. They brought back a total of 842 pounds of lunar rocks and soil. These samples are still being studied today, with some sealed containers only recently opened for the first time. The Soviet Union launched Salyut 1, the first space station, in 1971. It was 66 feet long and weighed 40,000 pounds. The first crew docked successfully but tragically died during re-entry when a valve opened prematurely, depressurizing their capsule. Skylab, America's first space station, launched in 1973 but was damaged during ascent, losing its thermal shield. The first crew performed an emergency spacewalk to deploy a sunshade, saving the station. 3 crews lived aboard Skylab for a total of 171 days. The Soviet space station Mir operated from 1986 to 2001, a remarkable 15 years. It hosted 137 cosmonauts and astronauts from 12 countries. Valery Polyakov lived aboard Mir for 437 continuous days, still the longest single spaceflight. The International Space Station has been continuously inhabited since November 2, 2000. It orbits Earth 16 times per day at 17,500 miles per hour, 250 miles above the surface. Astronauts aboard see 16 sunrises and sunsets daily. The ISS is the largest human-made structure in space, about the size of a football field, including solar panels. It weighs approximately 925,000 pounds. Its pressurized volume equals that of a Boeing 747. Construction of the ISS required more than 40 missions over 13 years. The first two modules, Zarya and Unity, were joined in 1998. Astronauts and cosmonauts from 19 countries have visited. It cost over $150 billion to build and maintain. Astronauts on the ISS exercise 2 hours daily to combat bone and muscle loss in microgravity. Without exercise, astronauts can lose up to 20% of their muscle mass within a week. Bones lose about 1% of their mass per month in space. Water is recycled on the ISS, including urine and sweat, achieving 90% efficiency. Every drop of water is precious. The station's life support system produces oxygen by splitting water molecules through electrolysis. Astronauts grow up to 2 inches taller in space as their spines elongate without gravity's compression. They shrink back to normal height within weeks of returning to Earth. Some experience back pain from the rapid spinal changes. The Space Shuttle Columbia launched on its first mission on April 12, 1981, exactly 20 years after Gagarin's flight. It was the first reusable spacecraft, designed to fly like a rocket and land like a plane. Commander John Young and pilot Bob Crippen flew this historic maiden voyage. 5 space shuttles flew operational missions: Columbia, Challenger, Discovery, Atlantis, and Endeavour. Together, they flew 135 missions over 30 years. They carried 355 different people into space and deployed numerous satellites and the Hubble Space Telescope. The Challenger disaster occurred 73 seconds after liftoff on January 28, 1986. All 7 crew members perished when an O-ring seal failed in the cold weather. The tragedy led to a 32-month pause in shuttle flights and major redesigns. Sally Ride became the first American woman in space aboard Challenger in 1983. She was just 32 years old. When asked how it felt to be a role model, she said she hoped young girls would be inspired to become astronauts. Columbia disintegrated during re-entry on February 1, 2003, killing all 7 crew members. A piece of foam insulation had struck the wing during launch, creating a breach. The accident led to the shuttle program's eventual retirement in 2011. The shuttle's main engines were among the most efficient engines ever built, achieving 99% combustion efficiency. Each engine produced 418,000 pounds of thrust. The engines could gimbal to steer the shuttle during ascent. The shuttle's external fuel tank was the only major component not reused. It held 535,000 gallons of propellant and was jettisoned 8.5 minutes after launch. Most tanks burned up over the ocean, though some pieces reached the seafloor. The Hubble Space Telescope launched in 1990 and immediately had blurry vision due to a flawed mirror. Astronauts installed corrective optics during a 1993 repair mission. Hubble has since revolutionized astronomy, observing galaxies 13.4 billion light-years away. Hubble orbits Earth every 95 minutes at 17,000 miles per hour. It has made over 1.5 million observations and helped astronomers publish more than 18,000 scientific papers. Its data helped prove the universe's expansion is accelerating. The Voyager 1 and 2 spacecraft launched in 1977 to explore the outer planets. They took advantage of a rare planetary alignment that occurs once every 175 years. Both spacecraft are still functioning and communicating with Earth. Voyager 1 is now over 15 billion miles from Earth, in interstellar space beyond our solar system's influence. It takes radio signals 22 hours to reach Earth for Voyager 1. The spacecraft travels at 38,000 miles per hour relative to the Sun. Both Voyager spacecraft carry golden records containing sounds and images of Earth. These records include greetings in 55 languages, music from various cultures, and natural sounds. They serve as messages to any intelligent life that might find them. Viking 1 became the first spacecraft to successfully land on Mars on July 20th, 1976. It operated for over 6 years, far exceeding its planned 90-day mission. Viking 1 sent back the first color photos from Mars's surface. The Mars Pathfinder and its Sojourner rover landed in 1997, proving that airbags could safely deliver a rover to Mars. Sojourner was about the size of a microwave and traveled only 330 feet, but captured public imagination worldwide. Spirit and Opportunity rovers landed on Mars in 2004 for 90-day missions. Spirit lasted 6 years, but Opportunity operated for nearly 15 years, traveling 28 miles. Both found compelling evidence that water once flowed on Mars. The Curiosity rover landed in 2012 using a sky crane system that lowered it gently to the surface. About the size of a small car, Curiosity weighs 1 ton. It carries 17 cameras and has drilled into dozens of Martian rocks. Curiosity discovered that Mars once had conditions suitable for microbial life. It found ancient lake beds, organic molecules, and evidence of flowing water. The rover continues exploring Gale Crater's sedimentary layers. Perseverance rover landed in February 2021 with the Ingenuity helicopter. Ingenuity made the first powered flight on another planet on April 19, 2021. Initially planned for 5 flights, it completed over 70 flights before losing contact in 2024. Perseverance is collecting samples that will eventually be returned to Earth by future missions. It carries 43 sample tubes and has filled many with carefully selected rocks. The sample return mission will be the first to bring Mars rocks to Earth. Mars has the largest volcano in the solar system. Olympus Mons stands 16 miles high, nearly 3 times the height of Mount Everest. Its base would cover the entire state of Arizona. The volcano has been extinct for millions of years. The Cassini spacecraft orbited Saturn from 2004 to 2017, completing 294 orbits. It discovered 7 new moons and found evidence of liquid water oceans beneath the icy surfaces of moons Enceladus and Titan. Cassini deliberately crashed into Saturn to protect potentially habitable moons. The Huygens probe, carried by Cassini, landed on Saturn's moon Titan in 2005. It was the first landing in the outer solar system and the farthest from Earth. Titan has liquid methane lakes and a thick atmosphere, making it eerily Earth-like despite the extreme cold. The New Horizons spacecraft flew past Pluto in 2015 after a 9.5-year journey. It revealed Pluto to be a dynamic world with nitrogen ice plains, water ice mountains, and a heart-shaped feature named Tombaugh Regio. The mission redefined how we viewed dwarf planets. New Horizons continues into the Kuiper Belt, having visited the distant object Arrokoth in 2019. Arrokoth is 4 billion miles from Earth, making it the most distant object ever explored by a spacecraft. It resembles a reddish snowman. The Juno spacecraft has been orbiting Jupiter since 2016, studying the planet's atmosphere and interior. It discovered that Jupiter's polar regions have massive cyclones and that its magnetic field is more complex than expected. Juno swoops within 3,100 miles of Jupiter's cloud tops. SpaceX became the first private company to send humans to orbit in 2020 with a Demo 2 mission. Astronauts Doug Hurley and Bob Behnken flew to the ISS aboard the Crew Dragon capsule. This marked the return of American orbital launches after 9 years of dependence on Russia. The Falcon 9 rocket pioneered routine rocket reusability. The first stage returns and lands vertically, sometimes on autonomous ships at sea. SpaceX has successfully landed and reused boosters over 300 times, dramatically reducing launch costs. SpaceX's Starship is designed to be the largest and most powerful rocket ever built. Standing 394 feet tall, when stacked, it will generate 17 million pounds of thrust. The fully reusable system aims to make Mars colonization economically feasible. Blue Origin's New Shepard rocket carries tourists to the edge of space on suborbital flights. The capsule passes the Kármán line at 62 miles altitude, providing several minutes of weightlessness. Jeff Bezos himself flew on the first crewed flight in 2021. Virgin Galactic's Spaceship Two reaches space through a unique air launch system. A carrier plane releases the spacecraft at high altitude, which then rockets to space. Passengers experience microgravity and see Earth's curvature during brief suborbital flights. The James Webb Space Telescope launched on December 25, 2021, and is revolutionizing astronomy. Its 21-foot mirror observes in infrared, seeing through cosmic dust to observe the universe's first galaxies. It orbits a 0.1 million miles from Earth, far beyond Hubble's orbit. Webb has discovered galaxies that formed just 300 million years after the Big Bang. These observations challenge theories about how quickly galaxies could form. The telescope can also analyze atmospheres of distant exoplanets, searching for signs of life. NASA's Artemis I mission in 2022 sent an uncrewed Orion capsule around the Moon, testing systems for future crewed flights. The spacecraft traveled farther from Earth than any capsule designed for humans, reaching 270,000 miles. Artemis II will carry astronauts around the Moon. The Artemis program plans to land the first woman and first person of color on the Moon. Artemis III aims for a 2026 landing near the lunar South Pole, where permanently shadowed craters may hold water ice. This ice could provide drinking water and rocket fuel. China's space program has achieved remarkable milestones. The Chang'e missions explored the Moon, with Chang'e 4 making the first landing on the far side. China's Tianwen-1 mission successfully landed a rover on Mars in 2021, making China only the second country to do so. China's Tiangong space station became operational in 2022. The three-module station is about one-fifth the size of the ISS and designed for a 15-year lifespan. Chinese astronauts have conducted multiple spacewalks and scientific experiments aboard. India successfully placed a probe in Mars orbit with its first attempt in 2014, a feat achieved by few space agencies. The Mangalyaan mission cost just $74 million, less than the budget of the movie Gravity. India also landed a probe near the Moon's South Pole in 2023. The Europa Clipper mission, launching in 2024, will investigate Jupiter's moon Europa and its subsurface ocean. This ocean may contain twice as much water as all Earth's oceans combined. The Moon's icy crust shows cracks and ridges suggesting geological activity. NASA's Dragonfly mission will send a nuclear-powered drone to Saturn's moon Titan, arriving in 2034. It will hop between dozens of locations, studying the Moon's organic chemistry. Titan's thick atmosphere and low gravity make flying easier than on Earth. Plans for permanent moon bases include using lunar regolith for 3D printed structures. The Moon's South Pole offers near-constant sunlight for solar power and access to water ice in permanently shadowed craters. Such bases could support astronauts and serve as stepping stones to Mars. Mars missions require about 7 months of travel each way. Astronauts would need to wait over a year on Mars for the planets to realign for the return journey. The total mission would last nearly 3 years, presenting unprecedented challenges for crew psychology and health. Astronomers have discovered over 5,500 exoplanets orbiting other stars. Some orbit in habitable zones where liquid water could exist. The search for biosignatures in exoplanet atmospheres continues, looking for chemical combinations that suggest life. The concept of space elevators could revolutionize access to orbit. A cable extending from Earth's surface to geosynchronous orbit would allow climbers to carry cargo cheaply to space. However, no material yet discovered is strong enough to build such a structure. Asteroid mining could provide vast resources. A single metallic asteroid might contain more platinum than has been mined in all of human history. Companies are developing technologies to identify, reach, and extract materials from near-Earth asteroids. The universe is approximately 13.8 billion years old, determined through observations of the cosmic microwave background radiation. This faint glow fills all of space, the afterglow of the Big Bang. Its temperature is just 2.7 degrees above absolute zero. The observable universe contains at least 200 billion galaxies, each with hundreds of billions of stars. The most distant galaxies we observe appear as they existed over 13 billion years ago, when the universe was young. Light from these galaxies has traveled across the expanding universe to reach us. Dark matter comprises about 27% of the universe, but remains invisible and mysterious. We detect it only through gravitational effects on visible matter. Dark energy makes up 68% of the universe and drives its accelerating expansion. Ordinary matter that makes up stars, planets, and us constitutes just 5% of the universe. Black holes warp space-time so intensely that not even light can escape. The supermassive black hole at our galaxy's center has a mass of 4 million suns. In 2019, astronomers captured the first image of a black hole's event horizon in the galaxy M87, 55 million light-years away. Gravitational waves were directly detected for the first time in 2015, confirming Einstein's century-old prediction. These ripples in space-time result from cataclysmic events like merging black holes. The waves detected came from two black holes that merged 1.3 billion years ago. The Sun contains 99.86% of all mass in our solar system. It converts 4 million tons of matter into energy every second through nuclear fusion. The Sun has been shining for 4.6 billion years and will continue for another 5 billion years before expanding into a red giant. Mercury, the smallest planet, experiences the most extreme temperature swings in the solar system. Daytime temperatures reach 800 degrees Fahrenheit, while nighttime temperatures plunge to minus 290 degrees Fahrenheit. Mercury's year is only 88 Earth days, but its day lasts 176 Earth days. Venus rotates backward compared to most planets and spins so slowly that its day is longer than its year. Venus's thick atmosphere creates a runaway greenhouse effect, making surface temperatures hot enough to melt lead at 900 degrees Fahrenheit. The atmosphere pressure is 92 times that of Earth. Earth is the only known planet with plate tectonics. This geological process recycles the crust and may be essential for maintaining habitability. Earth's magnetic field, generated by its rotating iron core, shields us from harmful solar radiation. Mars's day is just 37 minutes longer than Earth's, making it the most Earth-like planet in that respect. Mars has seasons like Earth because its axis is tilted similarly. However, Martian seasons last twice as long because Mars takes 687 days to orbit the Sun. Jupiter is so massive that its gravity significantly affects the entire solar system. It acts as a cosmic vacuum cleaner, capturing or deflecting asteroids and comets that might otherwise hit Earth. Jupiter has at least 95 known moons, the most of any planet. Saturn's rings are made of countless particles of ice and rock, ranging from grain-sized to house-sized. The rings are surprisingly thin, just 30 feet thick in most places. Despite their vast appearance, the total mass of Saturn's rings is less than a single small moon. Uranus rotates on its side, with its axis tilted 98 degrees from its orbital plane. This unusual orientation means each pole experiences 42 years of continuous sunlight, followed by 42 years of darkness. Scientists believe a massive collision early in its history knocked Uranus sideways. Neptune has the fastest winds in the solar system, reaching speeds of 1,200 miles per hour. These supersonic winds occur despite Neptune receiving only 0.1% of the sunlight that Earth does. The planet's beautiful blue color comes from methane in its atmosphere. The Kuiper Belt beyond Neptune contains hundreds of thousands of icy bodies. Pluto is the largest known Kuiper Belt object. These frozen remnants preserve materials from the solar system's formation 4.6 billion years ago. From Sputnik's simple beeps to rovers exploring Mars, from the first trembling steps on the moon to telescopes peering at the universe's birth, humanity has reached beyond Earth in ways our ancestors could never imagine. Every fact you've encountered tonight represents countless hours of human dedication, creativity, and courage. As you drift to sleep, remember that right now, astronauts float aboard the International Space Station, orbiting Earth every 90 minutes. Robotic explorers traverse Mars's ancient terrain. Distant spacecraft hurtle through interstellar space. Telescopes capture light from galaxies billions of light years away. The cosmos is vast beyond comprehension, yet humanity has taken the first steps to understand it. We are made of stardust, atoms forged in ancient supernovae, now conscious and curious about our cosmic home. Sweet dreams, space explorer. The stars await.